Happy New Year, everyone. Hello, hello. I'm so excited for what we're going to be doing this year. Um Hopefully you guys can hear me, see me okay because I am trying not to tax my computer too much so I don't have my YouTube open. Um so let me know if you are having problems. um so I hope you guys have all had your New Year start off very well. My new year so far is starting off with a broken water main. So that's been really fun. I have no running water in my house, and I haven't since Friday. Excellent. Thanks, Meta. Yeah, hopefully they're coming to fix it tomorrow because, oh, it sucks. Hello, Ma. So, uh, excellent. Thank you, Annie. So, what we are doing this year is I know we didn't have really any structure last year. And that was really exhausting for me to try and come up with something on the fly every single time. I think it got really boring in that there was no structure. So there was not a lot of like actual good teaching happening. And I apologize for that. I hope you still got something out of the year. Um, but if you hadn't seen my post that I made on the first, um, I have the entire year structured out for us. Each month is going to be a different theme that are like fundamentals. So no matter where you are, whether you are like a step away from professional to a brand new artist, it doesn't matter where you fall in that spectrum, you will get something out of this, hopefully. Um, and yeah, so I'm really excited about it. And these are never boring. Annie, I love you. Thank you. Um, but yeah, I'm excited for this too because I think that there are definitely things in the curriculum coming up that, especially from a YouTuber standpoint, get overlooked quite often because they're not sexy or exciting. Good. Thank you, Ilya. Because when you are on YouTube, you you really have to try and strike a balance between entertainment and providing value, right? And if all you do is provide value, then it gets boring. And if all you do is provide entertainment, then am I really teaching anybody how to do anything? So this year is about trying to find that balance. Um, yeah, so we're going to have some more structure. Yay! And it's going to be consistent. For now, my plan is to keep it at this time on Sundays at this time. But if it comes to the point where you guys are having a hard time getting here on that day, we can mess it around. But each month we'll have a consistent schedule. So for now, plan on Sundays at 1, just like today. So, all right, let me get to my notes because, guys, I came prepared. I have Note City. So, what we are doing today is starting with the very basics. And the very basics are lines and mark making. Because if you think about it, a little kid picking up a crayon for the first time, what is it that they do? They don't jump into shading and value and details and, color theory and all of that. Their immediate instinct is to make marks and experiment with that mark making. And that's something that gets sidelined a lot, I think, online because it's not sexy and it seems very basic. It seems like We should all kind of know, but we're going to hit it anyway, and it's going to be great. Excellent, Meta. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Discord. Discord. I don't know if there's anybody watching right now who is not on Discord, but this year is going to be the year that you really want to get on Discord. We are going to have a lot of interaction. I'll explain how Discord comes into it a little bit later, when we get closer to the end, because that's part of my notes. So scribble on the walls. Do it. Do it. I did that a lot as a kid, didn't I, Mom? Okay. So by the end of this month, you are going to be able to understand the fundamentals of line and what a line is. You're going to be able to control your pressure and speed and direction and know why you're doing those things. You're going to be able to use a line to describe form, and you're going to become familiar with your natural lines. We all have tendencies towards certain shapes and types and pressures of lines. And you're going to be able to begin applying line intentionally, not using it as an afterthought, but using it as a foundation for everything you do. And you will be ready at the end of this to move into February. So, whoops, come on. Let's see, scroll down a bit. Okay, so every single artist in every single medium, let's think about it for a second. When I talk about medium, I'm not necessarily just talking about acrylic paint, oil paint, watercolor, pencil. I'm also talking about sculpture, dance, any kind of visual art form relies on line. So, and lines can be very obvious, pens, pencils, just a straight line, a curved line, but it can also be very suggested. So the brush strokes that you use, the way you handle your edges and shapes. So let's talk about a couple different types of lines, because there's a few. So you might want to take some notes, because we are absolutely going to wrap back around to this. This is our focus all month long. So a line is basically just a path that your tool makes across a surface. That's the simplest explanation. So it doesn't matter what tool, it doesn't matter what surface, it doesn't matter what medium. The act of putting a tool to your surface is creating a line. Lines can be long, they can be very, very short, almost like a dash. That can be a line. They can be thick, thin, both. They can be smooth, rough. They can move very fast or very slow. They can be controlled or very, very loose. But every single line is going to carry information about the subject matter that you're drawing, but also about the intention that you have with creating that drawing. The way that you move, the way that you're expressing that information. I hesitate to say object because it doesn't have to be an object. And basically, for all of you guys wondering about what is my style? How do I find my style? Your lines are the basis of your style. So once you kind of harness what lines you're making, how you're using them, you will start to notice consistency in that, and that is where you'll start finding your style. So here's where you're going to want to take some notes. We are going to start talking about different kinds of lines. So let's jump over to here. And if I'm just info dumping on you and you have a question or you don't understand or I'm going too fast, please shout out in chat, and I can stop or back up or whatever. So let's go over to here. This is just regular printer paper. We don't need anything fancy today. And if all you brought was some printer paper and a pencil, that's perfect. I have a few other things, but it doesn't really matter what materials you have right now. And hello, everybody who came in while I was gabbing. All right. So the first line we're going to talk about is a contour line. And a contour line is something that follows the outer edge of an object. I'm just going to use a Sharpie so that you can see it. So let's think about a ball. If I say draw a ball with nothing but contour lines, there's a ball. The contour line is merely like the outer edge. So if you wanted to draw clouds, your clouds might look something like that. You know, there's your cloud with nothing but contour lines. Even a face with, just contour lines. So we could say eyes, nose, mouth, really bizarrely shaped head, ears. Those are just contour lines. Now, there's another thing called cross contour lines. So let me label this so we can come back to it. Let's say contour lines. So here we're going to have cross contour lines. And what cross contour lines are is a way to show that something has a 3D shape, that it has mass to it. So if I say draw a ball using cross contour lines, you would probably want to start with your contour line. So here's your ball. The cross contour lines describe the ball as round. And this is not about being completely accurate here, guys. I don't want anybody to feel like I don't draw well. That's not the point, okay? It's just the concepts. When you get into your chosen medium, it's gonna work out. So I just need you to understand the concepts. So these would be contour lines. Maybe even like this. It just kind of describes the shape of this thing. Now you understand that it's kind of a sphere. Same thing with, like, let's say a coffee mug. Contour lines. Only contour lines. So if I put cross contour lines on, and maybe some in here. Just describes the way something moves. So that's cross contour lines. Yes, I have horrific handwriting. Let's see. Gesture lines. These are ones that I feel like I struggle with the most, is gesture lines. And so this is another thing I'm excited for this year, because not all of these concepts are things that I'm like, top notch at. There's going to be quite a bit of learning for me in this year as well. So gesture lines they're lines that you make quickly. They're very loose. They can capture movement, energy, direction. Gesture lines are really where you want to start making something feel dynamic, something moving. So let's see. So, like, if you're doing like a warm up, if you're just thinking, I'm going to go in, I'm just going to scribble something out real quick, those are going to be gesture lines. So, let me think of, I'm just going to do a tree because, that's how I do. And a tree has movement to it. So, I could come in like this. So, all of those lines and the way I'm moving everything, this says that there's movement. This doesn't look like a static tree that's just kind of, it doesn't look like a tree, but it it looks like movement. You can see movement in it. Whereas a static tree would be like there's no movement here, right? Those aren't gesture lines. So, whoa, I don't know what that was. It was a gesture line. Okay. Uh, Next, we have implied lines. So, an implied line is where you're not actually intentionally drawing a line, but your eye is creating a line within that. So, this can be done a ton of different ways. You could use like dots to say, like, there, I did not draw a line, but your eye follows it and sees it as a line. It can also be like two shapes that almost touch. So, just for a quick example, let's think of like a yin yang image, okay? So, if we kind of come around like this, and then we have this one, there is a line. I mean, obviously, we've got contour lines there, but there's another line right here that is completely implied. That's not a line that I drew, but it's a line that you can see. Um, like your wobbly wine glass on Discord. Oh, yeah. I didn't realize that, Ilya, that you didn't draw that, that you didn't paint the glass, that you painted negative. That's really cool. And yes, that's exactly what that is. Um, Another way that you can have kind of implied lines is this is where you're going to think about like brush strokes, okay? Your brush strokes, like if you're filling in an area, remember I've told you in the past, like even if it's going to be a solid color, you want your brush strokes to move in the direction that you want it to feel like the object is moving or shaped. That's because of implied lines. So let me just grab, I'll just grab this color. It's just a piece of chalk. If I come in here and I do like that, definitely there's lines around the outside, but your eye is looking in here as well, and it can sense the lines. It's not just the outside. So, like, if I take a circle, let's just draw a circle, and then I fill it in like that. It kind of feels like a wall because you can see the direction those brush strokes are going. Where if I do a circle here, and I do like that, it feels a little bit more circular because you can see the direction that that's going. So those are some examples of implied lines. Let's see. Let's write that down without ruining my marker. So yes, even though this doesn't look like lines, this is considered lines. Any mark you make is a line. Implied line, broken lines. So broken line might kind of seem like I'm talking about the same thing as implied lines, but it's not. So a broken line, again, is something you would probably do with paint. You know, if you kind of skitter a brush lightly over top of a surface, you're going to get a very broken brush stroke. I'm going to use a piece of charcoal here. So a broken line, I'm just going to do a mug of coffee again. If I come around like this, I might even do some of these broken lines. It's it's a little bit more expressive. Like it's still a coffee mug, and you can tell it's a coffee mug, but the lines aren't perfectly, solid like that. So that's what I mean by broken lines, and it can be something like that. It could be, let's see. That would be a broken line. We see the line, it goes all the way across, but it is very broken. And broken lines are really great to combine with something like gesture lines, um, implied lines. All of that helps to add a little bit of expression. So we'll say broken. And the last one that we're going to talk about, the last type of line, is a weighted line. So a weighted line is a line that changes thickness as it moves. And weighted lines are really great also for movement, personality, depth. It can help suggest, like I said, movement. Let me show you how that might work. If we have let's say, like a ribbon. Okay. That doesn't look very ribbony because it's just a solid line. But if I come back around and maybe in the curves, I press a little harder, make it a little fatter. Now it's a little bit more dynamic. So that's what a weighted line is. It can go this way, really soft, and then slowly. That would also be a weighted line. And then there's combinations in all of these. They're all intermixable, so we'll say. Uh, let's just go back to the coffee mug so I can show you how you could use that in a practical way. Because a weighted line, it can it can help you show where something has weight or bulk or movement. It can also help you emphasize things that are important and minimize things that aren't so important. So if we have a mug, I might say, right, the lip of the mug is closer to us. It's going to be a little more important. Where maybe here. Our mug definitely has some mass to the bottom. The handle's kind of turned away, so we're not going to give it a lot of emphasis because we don't really want to stare at something that's tucked around the back. With our contour lines, we can do some weighted lines. And that's like a weighted broken line. And in here as well. Just some soft lines to remind us that the inside has some shape on its own as well. Okay, so those are my lines. Did everybody take notes? I bet not, huh? Some of you did. So what I want you to be doing right now as we're going through these types of lines is I want you really thinking about what kind of lines do I find myself making? Whether you're sketching or painting, like I said. When you're sketching, let's say, because you know how when I start my paintings, I kind of scribble with my dark color? Those are creating lines. That would be a combination of gesture lines, contour lines, a little bit of cross contouring. I definitely have some broken lines, a lot of broken lines. And my pressure varies. Oh, that's a different part of the note. Yeah, I've got my contour lines, a little bit of cross contour, definitely gesture. There usually ends up some kind of implied line. Excellent, Annie. Lots of broken lines, and yeah, definitely some weighted lines. So think about your process when you're doing a painting. Can you identify where you use any of these lines? I want you to be aware of that all throughout the month. Whenever you're doing anything, whether you're signing your name, whether you are looking at something across the room. Let me mute my phone. Oh, somebody put something in Discord. Let's go see what that is. Whether you're painting a solid object or whatever it is you're doing, I want you to try and identify the lines that you automatically make. Maybe make a note of it and say, I use a lot of this. I don't ever use this, or whatever. Let's see. Excellent, Debbie. Your model keeps moving. Hang on, I'm going to pop it up on the screen here. Yeah. Excellent. And you jumped ahead a little bit, which is great. We're going to start talking about that today, actually, too. But look at the different contour line. I would say the contour line of the woman's outer shape is kind of an implied line because it's basically created by the barrier between the white of the paper and the red of the ink in the background. We have other contour lines in here. We have a lot of cross contours, a lot of cross contouring, and that looks so good on her shirt, her neck, her hair. I would say those are cross contours. We have a bit of weighted lines because you've got some really fine line work in there and some really heavy line work. Lots of broken lines. Really, really nicely done. I love it. Love it, love it. Okay. So, let me see. Where am I at? Okay. So, now you have these basic lines that you can identify in your work or in the world in general. So let's talk about how lines behave based on a couple of different factors. So there's 4 main factors that are going to determine what your line looks like. So the first one is pressure. So I could say, draw a line. And some of you are going to go like this. Some of you are going to go like this. Some of you might go like that. And all of those lines are differentiated by the pressure that I put on the tool. And that works with everything, with paint, everything. Even sculpting, you're going to get a very thick, deep mark with your carving tool. If you press hard or if you press light, you'll get a very soft, slight mark. So this is pressure. And our next one is going to be speed. So I tell you again, make a line. So you might go, or, ooh, or you might go. So those are all different based on your speed. A very quick one is going to have, see the difference here between the light pressure and the heavy pressure, or the light pressure and the light pressure. This one went nice and slow and controlled. This one went quickly, so it's shorter. It starts very slim, it gets fat, and then it tapers really quickly, and it's a little bit shorter. And that's because I moved my hand very fast. These two are kind of the same because I did them both slowly, but when I tried to do it quick, I got more of a broken line because my tool broke a bit on that. And every tool is going to do that difference. So let's see, a crayon. If I go light but quickly, if I go heavy but quickly, and my control is a little bit lost. They're not as straight as these lines. Even light and slow is going to be a very different experience. So that's speed. And we got more on Discord. Let's see what's up. Oh, it looks like me. Oh, you are. That is me. That's hilarious. I didn't realize you were drawing me. Thanks. You made my hair look really good. I appreciate that. Okay, so the next one is going to be angle. So the angle of your tool, you guys know this from painting with a paintbrush. The angle of your tool is going to affect the shape of your line. So even here with my Sharpie, we'll say angle. So if I hold it straight up and down, get a pretty controlled, very narrow line. If I flip it sideways, then I get a fatter line. If I get weird with the way I hold it, that's going to affect the shape of my line. See that? And every single tool has its own way. So this piece of charcoal, that's a straight up and down line, and that's very broken and very soft. But if I go sideways, then it's very wide and has a completely different texture and look. And the last one, can I fit it on here? I don't want to get a different. Oh yeah. The last one is your tool choice. What is it that you're using to make your line? Is it a pencil with a very fine tip? You know, is it the charcoal with a crumbly, irregular shape? Or a marker with a very solid, regular shape? Uh, a paintbrush. Any tool you use is going to help give your line a particular personality. So again, the elements that affect the way your line behaves is pressure, speed, angle, and tool choice. How we doing, guys? I'm going to take a vocal break here for a second. If you've got questions about anything, start asking them. Even if that's like, how does this information apply to me when I'm making art like this or like that? Or there's not a dumb question. I swear to you, there is not a dumb question. Um, Let me look at my notes while I wait for you to come up with a question. Just get to where I'm going next. Because we're going to move on to mark making. No questions? All right, smarty pants. Um, so our next part is going to be mark making, like I said. And what mark making is basically how you use different lines, how you achieve whatever it is you're doing with the lines that you naturally gravitate to. And everybody has a personal set of lines. Oh, I'm good at explaining. Excellent. Thank you, Ilya. Um, it really doesn't matter what you're making. There are lines, whether they are intentional or not. So let me just find something in my studio that has unintentional lines. And here, I've got this paint palette. Absolutely, Annie. Yeah, coloring books. Yeah, just because you don't have to draw the contour lines doesn't mean there's no opportunity for lines. So, here. This is a palette, just a dried paint palette. I did not intend to make any lines on here. It's just how the palette came out. But if we look at this, we can find examples of just about every single line that we've already talked about. There's even this implied line right here. Lots of contour. You could even say some of this is cross contouring. Yeah, so you could find anything on there. Um, but let's start talking about mark making. So, uh, a couple of things that are impacted in your mark making or that impact your lines is going to be the way that you cross hatch, um, which is what I was saying. You skipped ahead a bit. You had some really good cross hatching in there. Scribbling, outlining, shading, and the way you break or connect lines. So, for example, let's pretend this is paint. I'm gonna make a painting here of, one of my landscapes. So I'm gonna start with some scribbles. I like to start with scribbles. I think scribbling is very freeing. It reminds my hand that I can use gesture drawing, that I don't have to do everything solid and heavy pressured and slow. So, scribbling, I like to just start with a scribble. And I would recognize this scribble anywhere because I know this is, excuse me, how my hand moves when I'm scribbling. So I might come in here and scribble out some gesture lines for a tree, maybe the landscape, the ground, maybe a path. These are just very gestural. And then I'm going to do some hatching. So hatching builds direction. It builds, it can build speed or movement. It's much more dynamic to do a ground like this than it is to come in here and go. But cross hatching is going to be this way and then this way. And then maybe you want to go this way. The more you cross hatch, And the different directions you go, the more you're going to build value. Notice how it's getting a little bit more solid and a little bit darker here at the back to the front. So there's some hatching. The outlining, I think that would kind of be what I did here for the landscape, is a bit of outlining. Maybe up for the trunk of the tree is a bit of outlining. Shading, so I did some of that with the cross hatching, but I might also do some with just scribbling. There is a difference between scribbling and cross hatching, so let's back up to that real quick. This is a scribble. And even if you cross scribble, this is still a scribble. You can do it just like cross hatching, but it's a scribble. What cross hatching is it's controlled lines that all move in the same direction. They have a start, they have an end. Whereas scribble is line, 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 line that are all connected. A crosshatch you don't have to go that slow, obviously. I'm just showing you. They are individual lines. Scribble, crosshatch. And the way you break and connect lines. So up in, let's see, in my trunk, I've kind of got this line that comes up like that. I've got this line here. These are two separate lines, but I might connect them with another line or another set of lines. So visually, I've created that, but I have not drawn until right now that shape. So pay attention to those things when you're doing any kind of art as well this week. So make sure you write that down. I want you to find your mark, we'll call it like a visual vocabulary, okay? I want you to discover what your visual vocabulary of marks is. What does your hatching look like? What does your scribbling look like? What do your outlines look like? How do you shade? Do you break lines and reconnect them? And what does that look like? Good? What time are we? Oh, yeah. I am just talking. We got to do we have some exercises. So, guys, make sure you've got your paper and stuff because you're going to start making some marks here in a minute. Okay. One other thing I want you to be aware of while you are doing this, while you are making your marks, is not only the kind of marks that you make, but I want you to try to notice if there's any kind of marks that you avoid, different types of marks that you don't make regularly. Honestly, I don't do a lot of cross-hatching. Why? I don't know. I just don't. So pay attention to that too, as well as marks that you like, but you feel like you need practice on. So look at all of those things. Yeah, Ilya, I'm going to. Thank you for asking. Yes, you will have homework, and next week, our get together next week relies on you guys doing your homework. So do your homework. I will get that put up in Discord. All right. So one of the last things I just want to talk about real quick before we get on to our exercises are why it's even important to look at the lines that we make. If we've made it all of these years, making art, learning how to make art, and we have never stopped and focused on line before, why now? What's the point of that? So your line is going to be the foundation for anything that you draw. That's what drawing is just line work. It's really the foundation for everything you paint. Your composition, it helps inform your composition and describing the relationship between your elements. It helps you create texture. You really can't create texture without creating some kind of marks, some kind of lines. Same with shading, your gesture, which again, gesture does not refer to like a hand gesture. It's the positioning of something. Line is how you can achieve abstraction and still have your audience know what it is they're looking at or not. And it's how you can achieve realism. So remember, brush strokes are lines, edges are lines, transition areas are lines, and shapes are made of lines. So we are going to do some exercises. But first, I want to show you, I went and found a bunch of images on the Google just to share with you so that we can start identifying lines in things that people already do. So remember, now I know that when I show you some of this, some of you are going to think, is she trying to push me to work abstract again? No, I'm not. I picked these images that are a little bit more abstract because they offered the best opportunity to discuss the different lines within them. So let's go back over here. I'll turn my face off so you can see. Let's go over to here. So first, I have this, and we have a lot of different types of lines. We've got implied lines, a lot of implied lines, a lot of contour lines. There's not really a lot of cross contouring, but there's some. But everything feels very energetic, right? Like this. Can you guys see my mouse? I don't know if you can see my mouse. But this area that looks like text next to the face, it looks like it was dashed off very quickly. Everything about this feels like it was done very quickly, which is an important part of abstract art because it helps convey a mood or an emotion. You know, why is this character rendered so quickly and chaotically? Maybe it's speaking about a mental state or a emotion or something like that. And all of that comes from the way the lines are handled. And then we have this one. So these would be gesture drawings, you know, trying to recreate something with realistic proportions, but very gesturally, which gives these figures a lot of movement. It feels like they're moving through space. It feels like if you wait long enough, you're going to see one of them move a little bit. And that's because of the way they've handled their lines. And look at how we've got these super faint, quick scribbles. And then we've got these more deliberate, heavy, small lines. I chose this one because I had some paint. So you can see how these brush strokes, these are lines. They're creating movement. They're creating direction. Got some scribbling, a little hatching. It's all lines. Just a couple more. This is, again, the way gesture, broken lines, speed, like the heaviness of your lines, angle, etc. How you can take something, a person's face, you can render it realistically, which he mostly is kind of in that profile, but create a lot of energy around it. So it does look like a man who's just standing there holding still, but all of that energy around it makes it more interesting. It gives him some life. It says this man has energy. This man moves. He might be having some emotions, some thoughts, It gives you something to bounce off of rather than just being like, it's a man's face. Now these are almost like context clues that you can interpret however you need to. Just two more real quick. This rabbit is all done with cross hatching. Notice how the lines, for the most part, are individuals. It's not scribbling back and forth. There's also some gesture marks in these long lines that come off the side of the rabbit off to the left. And they kind of imply that the rabbit is moving. Same with the back, the top right of the image. Everything's kind of moving in that direction and is a little faint, so it almost feels like a blur. We've caught the rabbit in just like a very brief pause. And I actually love this image. I'm sure that half of you are going, ugh, really? But look at, we could find just about every single type of line we've talked about exists in this very simple image. And while, yeah, a 4-year-old could do it, the fact of the matter is this artist was using line very deliberately. And if you look at it and you interpret the energy that went into creating those lines, you can almost get a sense of what this artist might have been feeling when they made it. So I hope that helps you understand abstract art just a little bit more too, and that it's not just mindless. Nope, I did not make any of those. I just found them on the Google. Yeah. So, we ready for some exercises? I know you are. All right. Get your paper, whatever tool or tools you're using. If you want to use paint, you can. I decided not to use paint today, just simply for sake of ease. But you can use paint, absolutely. Let me get my notes back up. Where you at? And after we do our exercises, we'll talk about what we're doing next week, and then I'll let you guys go. I want you doing these exercises. I want you to do them with me here, but also at least once in the week. Elliot, I'm not sure just yet. I'll find out and I'll put it in Discord when we're done here, okay? Okay, so grab a utensil. I don't care which one. I'm going to split this and we have 5 exercises, but I can't really split my paper into 5s efficiently. Okay, so our first exercise we're going to do is called a pressure ladder. Basically, all we're going to do is start from very light, very pale lines and gradually getting darker. This is going to help you remember that pressure and control have everything to do with the way something looks. So I'm just going to fill this whole little square here. I'll start with a small one, and every one is going to get slightly darker, and they're also getting fatter. And I think that's about as dark as my crayon is going to go. You know what happens if I do the same thing, but maybe with a little bit more speed, not quite so slow and controlled? What would that look like? Much different energy. Very, very different energy. Not saying that one is better than the other, but there's going to be times where you want that energy, and there's going to be times where you don't. Let's see, pressure, speed, angle. So the angle I held it at would also affect that. See, I'm almost getting like this weird double line and it doesn't get as fat. So get those done real quick. And then we will move on to speed lines. And let's see, our speed lines. I just want you to do this quickly. Just grab anything. I think I'll use a pencil this time. Color you guys can see. Okay. So I'm going to fill this whole section with speed lines. We're going to do these really fast. I'm going to fill it with straight lines, curved lines, zigzags, scribbles, spirals, broken lines, weighted lines. Just really, this is where you're going to experiment and just see what kind of marks you make. One thing I like to do, I know I've shown you guys this before, and somehow this is a really frustrating thing for a lot of people. And I don't know how to explain it any different, but I like to, like you see this line here, that's like a little, what I like to do is hold my pencil like this. So it's between my fingers. Then it's resting on my thumb. See that? And I'm going to close my thumb over it just a little bit and kind of pull it forward, push it backward. I'm just rolling it just a little. There's none of this like spinning. I've seen people think that I'm like trying to spin it. There's none of that. It's very controlled. See, my thumb's not moving very much, and you can hold it still. And I like to do things like that and move my hand in different directions because I get a little bit more gestural. It's not quite so stiff. So just spend a little bit of time doing things like that. If you need to change color so you can see how a different technique works. So I'll do a scribble without my rolling, and I'll do a scribble with my rolling. Very, very different experiences. Do that. Our next one is going to be a contour study. So this is where I have to have a little bit of a caveat, okay? The number one thing that I want you guys to remember here throughout all of this, throughout the entire year, this is going to be a fact and a motto no matter what it is we're studying. We are not here to look for perfection. When I tell you to do a contour study and we do our critiques on the third week, the critique is not going to be like, well, you didn't, if your contour was more like this, it would look more realistic. This doesn't really look like a coffee mug. Maybe you could make it look more like a coffee. It's not. Your ability to successfully render a specific subject is completely unimportant. What I'm going to be looking for when we do our critiques is your attention to the subject matter that we're discussing. So if you draw a coffee mug that looks like a 6-month-old drew it, that's okay. As long as I can see the attention to the lines that you're putting in it. So I don't want anyone to be like, oh, I can't submit this for the critique because it looks so bad. It doesn't matter how bad it looks, okay? Make it look bad intentionally. I don't care. Just get your lines. Focus on your lines. So we're going to do a quick contour study. I already did a mug. Maybe we could do, let's see. I'm going to do something super easy. I'm going to do my bottle of matte medium. So from here, I see it's like, this is just contours. There's no texture in here. I'm not doing any cross contouring. I'm just finding the shapes. I know that looks like a cross contour. That's the label. It belongs there. So this would be my matte medium bottle. And then we're going to do blind contours. We're going to do some blind contours, Debbie. Absolutely. Now we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to wrap lines to show the volume that it has, or the direction that something moves. So I'm going to do the exact same illustration, and I'm only focusing on the contour and cross contour. So here's our bottle. Basically what we just had. But now, here's some contour lines because that moves in that direction. That moves in that direction. Same here. This is flat, and this moves in that direction. So those are very, very basic contour lines. So if you show up with something like this, or even 10 times worse, but I see your contour lines, that's excellent. That's all we need to see, okay? Oh, I skipped one. Hang on. Oh, I did my line variations and my speed lines at the same time. So I'll have you break this out into speed lines, and that'll be more like this, as well as your line variations. So let's see. Yeah, that is actually the end of this week. So let's just recap super quick. What we are going to be focusing on is lines and the kind of lines that you make, what affects those lines. And I just want you overall to be very focused on lines right now. Okay. Let's see, what are we doing next week? Next week we're gonna do more like drills. We're gonna do some mark making drills and line control stuff. So next week you guys are absolutely gonna be doing some stuff with me. So make sure you've got your materials. And those exercises. So here, let me explain to you what is going to be, what you can expect for the rest of the month. And this is going to be consistent from month to month, no matter what it is we're talking about. Okay. So in our first week is basically going to be lecture and demonstration like we did today. Our second week is going to be drills and hands-on practice. I'm going to lead you through some practice sessions for all of our concepts in week 2. And everybody, both membership levels, are invited to both of these events. Now in week 3 is going to be kind of a critique week. You're not required to participate in it, but I would love it if you did. And the critiques are for the art family members. So the $10 level members. I'll create we've got our art family group on Discord. So I'll have you submit your things for critique in there. Next week, I'll let you know what I'm looking for. We'll do the critiques every third week. And then the fourth week, hang on, let me see. I gotta look at it because I don't remember what oh yeah, in the fourth week, we're gonna be doing some like some bonus stuff. So maybe I noticed throughout the month something in particular that everyone seems to be struggling with. So we'll hit that a little bit harder. Or maybe we feel like there's really not much else that we need to discuss within the topic, so I'll break it into something related. So what I'm planning for this month with our line work is we're going to do the Loomis method, because drawing a face is all about lines. And I don't think that at the end of the month, I'm going to need you to practice scribbling more than you already will for the rest of the month. So, and the fourth week is also for the $10, the Art Family members. Yeah. So I guess that's it. If you guys have any final questions, hit me with them now. What I will do as soon as we're done here is put together your homework for the week, which will be fairly simple, but next week it's going to be pretty intense. So please plan on participating, because the more you participate, the less my brain is able to grab on and go, nobody's interested. Maybe we shouldn't do this anymore. So, all right. Well, I'm going to let you guys go. I'll go get all of that ready for you. Ilya, I will find out. In fact, I'll just post the origin for all of those images if you guys want to look at them more. And that's it. So, I love you guys, and I'm super excited for this year. I hope you are too. And I will see you again very soon. So, have a good rest of your Sunday. Goodbye, everybody.